The city of Chicago has always been defined by its heavy, industrial heartbeat, its architectural marvels scraping the sky, and the restless winds howling off Lake Michigan. It is a metropolis built on the sweat of laborers, the vision of community organizers, and the relentless pursuit of progress. For generations, the historic south side of this great city has stood as a monumental testament to cultural resilience, artistic revolution, and grassroots power. This specific geographic corridor, stretching through vibrant neighborhoods steeped in legacy, has nurtured some of the most influential voices in modern history. It is a place where ordinary citizens have long gathered on front porches and in community basements, dreaming of a future that seemed far beyond their immediate reach. On this particular crisp Thursday evening, an palpable wave of anticipation rippled through the crisp autumn air as a historic gathering began to take shape. The streets surrounding a newly transformed 19-acre landscape were lined with observers, their breath misting in the cold air as sleek vehicles glided toward a brightly illuminated venue. There was an unmistakable sense that something monumental was unfolding, a realization that years of architectural planning, community dialogue, and cultural expectation were finally culminating in a single, defining moment. The sheer scale of the gathering drew the eyes of onlookers from across the city, signaling an event that would resonate far beyond the boundaries of Illinois. This was not merely another high-profile gathering or a standard celebration of a modern architectural achievement. Instead, it felt like the opening lines of a profound new narrative, written in the very soil where so many foundational journeys had originally commenced. For those watching from afar, the evening offered a rare glimpse into a gathering of unprecedented cultural and artistic magnitude, where the past and the future seemed to converge under the brilliant glare of stage lights. If you want to stay connected with exclusive, deep-dive coverage of historic events, cultural milestones, and extraordinary stories like this one, make sure to subscribe to our channel right now so you never miss an update. As the evening progressed, the inner sanctum of the venue began to fill with an astonishing array of global icons, legendary filmmakers, celebrated musicians, and distinguished figures whose work has shaped the global cultural landscape for decades. The atmosphere within the Grand Hall was thick, with reverence and quiet excitement, conversations murmuring like a gentle tide across the beautifully designed space. Towering figures of modern cinema shared quiet words with musical visionaries, while leaders of major philanthropic institutions mingled with local activists who had spent years advocating for the revitalization of these very neighborhoods. The collective energy in the room was a reflection of shared history and mutual respect, an unspoken understanding that everyone present had contributed to the broader tapestry of contemporary society. Among the early arrivals were icons of daytime television and global media empires, alongside directors who had redefined the parameters of cinematic storytelling. Academy Award winners stood shoulder to shoulder with legendary late-night television hosts, their familiar faces illuminated by the soft, warm glow of the architectural lighting. The sheer concentration of talent and influence in a single room created an almost electric vibration, a sense of collective witness to an unfolding legacy. Yet, despite the immense star power radiating from every corner of the venue, the true focus of the night remained anchored to the ground beneath them, to the community that had served as the cradle for so many grand aspirations. The physical environment itself seemed to echo this sentiment, balancing grand sweeping architectural lines with intimate spaces designed for reflection, learning, and connection. Every detail of the setting had been meticulously crafted to honor the surrounding neighborhoods, ensuring that the local legacy was woven directly into the fabric of the global celebration. As the final guests took their places and the ambient noise began to soften into an expectant hush, the stage was set for a performance that would bridge the gap between tradition and innovation. The anticipation reached a fever pitch as a highly respected community leader and seasoned advisor stepped forward to introduce the next segment of the evening, her voice carrying the weight of years of shared struggle and triumph. She began to speak of a unique musical request, a challenge presented to one of the most powerful and technically gifted vocalists of a generation. The audience listened intently as she revealed the quiet drama that had unfolded behind the scenes in the days leading up to this performance. A request had been made to deliver a rendition of a timeless American classic, a song deeply woven into the cultural fabric of the nation and cherished by millions around the globe. It was a melody that carried a profound message of hope, beauty, and resilience, a song that demanded not just vocal precision but a deep, emotional connection to its core message. However, the advisor revealed a surprising truth that caught the audience by surprise. adding an unexpected layer of tension and intrigue to the proceedings. The celebrated artist, despite a career spanning decades and a catalog of legendary live performances on the world's biggest stages, had confessed a startling secret to the organizers. She had never once performed this particular masterpiece in a public setting throughout her entire illustrious journey. The revelation hung in the air, transforming the upcoming performance from a standard event into a high-stakes artistic gamble, a moment of vulnerability for a global superstar. The crowd watched with bated breath as the stage lights began to shift, casting a dramatic glow over the performance area and signaling the arrival of the vocal powerhouse. The suspense was undeniable, as everyone in attendance wondered how an artist known for her explosive, multi-octave pop anthems would interpret a song defined by its gentle, soulful simplicity. It was a test of artistic adaptability, a moment where a familiar voice would have to chart entirely new territory in front of an audience composed of the most discerning minds in the world. As the first subtle notes of a completely custom arrangement began to drift through the acoustically perfect space, the audience was instantly transported into a state of rapt attention, realizing they were about to witness a singular piece of musical history that would never be replicated. The moment the lights fully illuminated the stage, a collective intake of breath echoed through the grand venue as Christina Aguilera stood revealed in the center of the spotlight, commanding the room with an ethereal and striking presence. For this historic evening, the 45-year-old superstar had chosen a fashion masterpiece that perfectly balanced avant-garde sophistication with timeless elegance. Wearing a magnificent, semi-sheer perbal garung gown that seemed to catch and refract every beam of light, the dress featured a dramatic, sweeping long train that cascaded elegantly across the stage floor, creating a stunning visual anchor as she prepared to deliver her performance. In a deliberate choice that emphasized the raw, emotional weight of the moment rather than pure spectacle, the Grammy Award-winning artist opted for remarkably minimal jewelry, sporting only a single, gleaming silver ring on her right finger. Her signature platinum blonde hair was styled with classic precision, falling smoothly past her shoulders and curling gently at the bottom to evoke the glamour of a bygone era of musical legends. As she stood before the microphone, the sheer gravity of the audience sitting directly in front of her added an intense layer of artistic tension to the air. Seated in the front rows, watching her with absolute focus, was the Obama family, including Barack and Michelle Obama alongside their two daughters, Malia and Sasha, who had all gathered to witness this historic dedication. The presence of the former First Family, returning to the very city that had launched their global journey, lent an undeniable emotional weight to the venue, transforming the concert into a deeply personal tribute. Aguilera knew that she was not merely singing a song, but rather translating a legacy into melody, a task made all the more daunting by the specific track she had agreed to perform. This was a moment of supreme vulnerability for a vocalist famous for her explosive pop anthems and soaring high notes, as she prepared to reveal a completely new, never-before-heard arrangement of Louis Armstrong's legendary masterpiece. What a wonderful world! The challenge was immense, as the song is globally revered for its gentle, gravelly simplicity, a stark contrast to the powerhouse vocal runs that defined Aguilera's multi-platinum career. The audience sat in absolute pin-drop silence, the tension radiating from the stage, as the opening chords began to resonate through the perfectly engineered acoustic space. Every eye was fixed on the singer, waiting to see how she would navigate this delicate musical tightrope in front of some of the most powerful and influential people in modern history. The performance quickly became a masterclass in artistic reinterpretation, as Aguilera infused the familiar lyrics with a fresh, contemporary soulfulness that completely captivated everyone in attendance. Her voice, rich with texture and controlled power, breathed new life into the iconic lines, turning the classic anthem of optimism into a moving reflection on community, progress, and shared humanity. As the final notes of her custom arrangement faded into the rafters, the initial hush was instantly shattered by an overwhelming wave of applause, led by the visibly moved Obama family. This successful performance was far from Aguilera's first time using her immense talent to support the former president, marking yet another chapter in a long-standing relationship built on mutual respect and shared values. Over a decade earlier, in 2015, the celebrated pop icon had hosted a massive $1 million fundraiser at her private residence, explicitly praising the administration's historic achievements and progressive platform. 3 years after that successful event, she once again lent her vocal prowess to the cause, performing at a high-profile Democratic National Committee event titled An Evening with Barack Obama, held at a secluded luxury estate in Beverly Hills. Her consistent alignment with these cultural and civic movements highlighted her deep commitment to using her platform for broader societal engagement, a trajectory that continued through the most recent presidential cycle. The star-studded audience surrounding the stage was a striking reflection of this intertwined history of art, culture, and leadership, representing an unprecedented assembly of global talent. Sitting alongside the Obama family in a rare display of unified historical legacy were former President Bill Clinton and former First Secretary Hillary Clinton, as well as former President George W. Bush and his wife Laura Bush. This extraordinary gathering of former heads of state underscored the profound national significance of the event, elevating the opening of the new center into a moment of true historical unity. The star power in the spectator seats rivaled any major global awards ceremony, with media titan Oprah Winfrey and iconic filmmakers Steven Spielberg and George Lucas observing the proceedings with deep interest. Legendary Hollywood actors like Tom Hanks and Anne Hathaway shared the space with acclaimed late-night television hosts Stephen Colbert, David Letterman, and Conan O'Brien, all of whom had traveled to Illinois to witness the unfolding ceremony. The diverse guest list also featured prominent contemporary cultural voices, including actress Gabrielle Union, television creator Quinta Brunson, and cinematic legend Mark Hamill, creating a vibrant cross-generational dialogue within the hall. The musical lineup for the dedication was equally historic, featuring a succession of performances that kept the audience in a state of constant emotional resonance. The legendary Jennifer Hudson had earlier set a powerful tone for the entire event, delivering a stirring rendition of the national anthem before transitioning into a deeply moving cover of To Dream the Impossible Dream. As the evening progressed, the stage welcomed an extraordinary array of musical visionaries, including the iconic hip-hop collective The Roots, soulful crooner John Legend, Latin music superstar Mark Anthony, and the globally celebrated rock band U2. In another deeply poignant moment that highlighted the local focus of the entire project, Pearl Jam's iconic frontman Eddie Vedder took the stage, accompanied by a group of talented young musicians from the local nonprofit organization Guitars Over Guns. This collaborative performance served as a living demonstration of the center's core mission, showcasing the incredible potential of youth arts mentorship programs directly embedded within the community. The entire spectacle unfolded within the grand, sweeping spaces of the newly completed 19-acre Presidential Center, a massive architectural marvel positioned on Chicago's historic South Side. This multifaceted campus was designed not merely as a repository for historical artifacts, but as a living, breathing engine for community transformation and civic empowerment. The sprawling grounds feature an imposing 8-story museum tower that rises dramatically above the parkland, symbolizing a beacon of education and historical reflection for generations to come. Inside the state-of-the-art facility, visitors can explore a meticulously crafted, full-scale replica of the Oval Office, offering everyday citizens an intimate glimpse into the executive seat of power. The center also includes an innovative National Basketball Association regulation-sized basketball court, reflecting the former president's well-known passion for the game and providing a vibrant space for local youth recreation. Expansive community gardens are woven throughout the landscape, designed to promote urban agriculture, environmental sustainability, and local food security initiatives. Furthermore, a modern branch of the Chicago Public Library is integrated directly into the campus, ensuring that public resources, literature, and educational tools are permanently accessible to the surrounding neighborhoods. Every single element of this massive 19-acre development was intentionally planned to honor the unique spirit and history of the local community, serving as an enduring testament to the power of grassroots organizing. The physical structure itself stood as a bold monument to the idea that major global institutions can and should be deeply rooted in the neighborhoods that shaped their founders. As the formal dedication ceremony drew toward its emotional conclusion, the deeper meaning of the entire endeavor began to crystallize for everyone gathered in the Grand Hall. The combination of world-class artistic performances, unprecedented historical attendance, and local community focus created a powerful sense of momentum that paved the way for the center's official public opening. The atmosphere remained thick with an undeniable sense of purpose, as the star-studded crowd prepared to transition from celebrating a physical structure to understanding its long-term global impact. The culmination of this extraordinary evening found its true emotional anchor not in the dazzling array of celebrity performances or the presence of global dignitaries, but in the profound words of the 44th president himself. In a deeply personal introductory video broadcast across the Grand Hall, Barack Obama spoke with immense reverence about what the South Side of Chicago truly means to his identity, his career, and his life journey. His voice resonated through the acoustically perfect space as he reminisced about the formative years he spent traversing these exact streets as a young man filled with grand ideals but very little practical experience. He reminded the audience that this neighborhood was the specific laboratory where his entire understanding of community and progress was forged from the ground up. It was on these very streets, among the working-class families and historic brick bungalows, where he first began knocking on doors as a passionate community organizer, learning the fundamental lesson that true leadership begins with the willingness to stop talking and start listening. He explained to the captivated crowd that the South Side was the place where he truly found his voice, discovering how to synthesize the shared struggles, hopes, and daily triumphs of ordinary citizens into a cohesive narrative of collective empowerment. Beyond the realm of civic engagement and neighborhood organizing, the former president shared that this specific geographic space held the deepest personal significance for his family, marking the foundation of his private life. It was here on the South Side where he fell deeply in love with a young lawyer named Michelle Robinson, a native daughter of these very neighborhoods who understood the soul of the city better than anyone else. Together, within the warm embrace of this supportive Midwestern community, they built their first home, raised their two daughters, and established a lifelong network of deep, enduring friendships that would sustain them all the way to the highest office in the land. He emphasized that from this humble, vibrant place, their collective circle and their broader aspirations grew exponentially, expanding to encompass a national and eventually global vision of change. Yet, he insisted that no matter how far their journey took them, the story of the South Side had always been a story of profound possibility, a living testament to the idea that ordinary people working together can achieve extraordinary things. Now, with the magnificent completion of this 19-acre presidential campus, he stated with immense pride that they were officially ready to start writing a brand new chapter in this ongoing democratic story. The emotional resonance of his message was felt deeply by everyone in attendance, from the local activists who had walked those same blocks to the Hollywood icons who had championed his vision from afar. The physical presence of the center itself serves as an enduring monument to this philosophy of neighborhood-first progress, challenging the traditional notion of what a presidential library should be. Instead of creating a static, quiet archive designed solely for historical research and retrospective study, the planners intentionally constructed a dynamic civic hub that actively participates in the daily life of the community. The inclusion of the public library branch, the state-of-the-art basketball facilities, and the urban agricultural spaces ensures that the local youth will grow up with this campus as a central part of their educational and social development. This innovative approach reflects a growing global shift toward creating institutional spaces that are radically accessible, democratic, and useful to the public. For the residents of Chicago's South Side, the center represents a massive infusion of economic opportunity, cultural investment, and neighborhood pride, promising to revitalize the surrounding area for decades to come. The grand opening event successfully bridged the gap between the monumental achievements of the past and the urgent, hopeful work of the future, leaving an indelible mark on all who witnessed it. As the final evening events concluded and the star-studded crowd began to disperse into the cool Chicago night, the focus immediately shifted to the historic public opening scheduled for the very next day. On Friday, the gates of this massive 19-acre facility officially opened to the general public, welcoming a massive, eager line of everyday citizens, school children, and local families who had watched the complex rise from the ground over years of anticipation. The transition from an exclusive, star-studded dedication ceremony to an open, bustling public sanctuary perfectly encapsulated the core mission that the Obama family had championed from the very inception of the project. Visitors flooded the expansive walkways, explored the interactive historical exhibits inside the soaring 8-story museum tower, and gathered in the community gardens, bringing the architectural masterpiece to vibrant, energetic life. For the heroes of this journey, both the famous figures who took the stage and the unnamed community members who laid the groundwork, the moment was a profound validation of a shared dream. Christina Aguilera's historic performance, Jennifer Hudson's soaring anthems, and the collaborative energy of local youth musicians all served as a spectacular opening fanfare for an institution destined to shape public discourse for generations. The story of the center is ultimately a story of return, a poetic, full-circle journey for a family and a movement that began with simple conversations on front porches and culminated in a global beacon of civic engagement. As the public exploration of the campus begins, the true impact of this monumental development will be written not in the stone and glass of its buildings, but in the lives of the young leaders, artists, and citizens who find their own voices within its walls.